does, because I want to talk about what's going on here in the Alberta ecosystem right now. April 20th and 21st, we have the Alberta Technology Symposium going on. Tickets are up for sale. The link will be in the comment section shortly. Click on there, check it out. Unbelievable. We'll be talking blockchain, crypto, NFTs, ag tech, health tech, fintech, investing in Alberta. So many great topics, so many great speakers. Definitely check it out. And also, we not only do we have the life sciences running at Startup TNT, we have the top 20 clean tech pitches tomorrow. So that will be going at 4:30. Of course, the after party here in Calgary is going to be at Briggs. There's one in Edmonton, Regina, and Saskatoon. So go to startuptnt.com, check that out. And it's not a coincidence, what Kelly and I were laughing about a little bit before, but we have a clean tech company that was in our last summit talking about where her company has gone. So Kelly, welcome for joining. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Jade. Awesome. And I actually want to add just a shout out to the Clean Tech Summit and Startup TNT, because last year I did participate in the first and only competition I've done. And it was such a safe place to learn and to really do a crash course in how to raise money, how to set up my business, how to keep things going. And since then, we've raised $300,000. We're starting our next round right now, and had a lot of success. And I can say honestly that it was kicked off by the Startup TNT group. So really good.
Well, and we're, we were going to kind of touch on that a little bit. Maybe we'll just touch on it now since we're having that discussion. But we hear that a lot, and I'm glad that it worked out for you. Sometimes, not everybody gets an investment out of it, but the people that you meet and the connections that you usually make from it are very important, in my opinion, almost more important than any money that you may or may not win.
Well, and you're right. So we didn't win the competition.
Yeah.
But we did get, one of our investors happened to be in there and hearing about it. And then ultimately we've got a couple of investors that were involved in that whole program. But it's also really a confidence boost. I mean, for me, so somebody who's had a career like mine where I've had my own businesses, but certainly didn't need to raise money for them. And then, working in oil and gas companies and all of that other good stuff, you're not really looking at the fundraising aspect of it. So really learning about that and then understanding that, I can do this too, really, that's what it was about too. And having that confidence and it's, people need to invest and I need investment. So let's go for it. Right. So it was really that was for me the biggest thing, to know what the steps are. And now I can do it. And I tell you, I can do a pitch 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 15, 30, whatever you want. I can do it on the drop of a hat and at that time it was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I've never done this before. But now, especially because you get coaching, here I am, I can talk about Startup TNT all day. The coaching that I got for how to go in and do it was so helpful. It's just foundational. And like I said, it's a safe place. So everybody's trying to get some money and do that. But really, it is about those first contacts and learning about it for me. So all excellent stuff.
Well, that's good. And I mean, and again, we wouldn't have met and you wouldn't have been on Telling It Like It Is. So
that's right. That's right. And I have to say to the audience out there that Jade was one of the first people who reached out to me. And actually, and I asked some really stupid questions and he did not laugh at me once. He didn't go, oh my God, you're an idiot. Anything like that. He didn't roll his eyes even. It was awesome. No, it was very helpful. Really, really helpful. And obviously the group of people that I've met and the network that we've built over the last, year or so, starting before that, it's just been awesome. So really
I couldn't agree more, right? And it's it's a relationship that's been going on for well over a year now, right? And had a few meetings. You've come to Founders Coffee. You've gone from there. You got to meet Dan Olson, who's actually I believe you used some of their interns.
Yeah, hired some students. Yeah,
yes, exactly, right.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mean, everything works, right? And things along those lines. But we want to talk about VPT. So. I mean, you focus on renewable power. So please share why you decided to start this company.
Yeah. So, it's just one of those things. I've always been interested in energy and power. And, so I came from well, before oil and gas, I was in pulp and paper and a lot of other different places, and then in oil and gas. But it's always an and thing, right? How do
Yeah.
you get your energy? It's so I get totally how we use oil and gas. That's my world. But
Yeah.
it's also, but the sun is shining, and Calgary in particular, Alberta has such a photovoltaic energy source. Why not use it? There's an abundance of rooftops.
Yeah.
Why not just use it? And so what started to happen is got together with a couple of people who are brilliant, like absolutely brilliant, and founded the company, looking at helping other companies, other companies with products, reduce their energy footprint. So we do power electronics. So how do you transition from the power source to what your device needs? All of that is what we do. And once you manage how somebody actually use or how a piece of equipment uses the power, then you can do the IoT stuff, you can do the communications, you do the controls, you do all that. So the whole shoot match about how do you manage power? And we were specifically helping other companies reduce their energy footprint. And it's just fun. When you're working with brilliant people, it's just a lot of fun. And then the COVID hit, that thing, and our market of working with front end devices and where companies have to invest
Yeah.
a fair amount of change just to move them forward got stopped. So now we end up with, okay, and I thought 4 months, right? Let's just work while COVID works itself out for 4 months. Let's work on our own product. And we ended up landing on, a product that changes how you do solar energy at home, making it accessible, making it really easy. So that's what we ended up with. And it's like, hey, this is just so much fun. This is just everything I ever wanted to do, make energy that's freely available to everybody, accessible for really just about anybody who wants it. So that's what we're doing. So that's how, kind of a weird way to get into it, I suppose. But and quite honestly, it started at, and how do I know, people who know me, how do I know that this is the right team for me? Because one of the co-founders phoned up the other two of us and said, so are you guys ready to start that business we talked about? We're like, what business? Well, you remember, we talked about it. I'm like, okay, I guess. And then the next thing you know, we're meeting every week in a pub, because that's where you should work on things like vision and values and all that, is every Friday afternoon for a couple hours in the pub. And then, all the projects from there too. But so the group started that way. And yeah, it's continued that way. It's just been loads of fun.
So how does somebody go from, the oil and gas and that's your life, into saying, you know what, I'm going to make a total. I mean, I know they work together and it's still energy, but saying, hey, I'm going to solar. Like, was that just, how did you make that decision?
Well, I didn't. Really. So it just sounds really terrible. No, I left the oil and gas industry. I left the oil and gas company I was working for at a pretty bad time in the industry. So there was no real hiring. It wasn't like, I left ship when the economy was down. Nobody's hiring. Layoffs are still in the news all the time.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't so much I'm leaving oil and gas and going to solar. It was what are the opportunities?
Yeah.
And actually what I did was I took the sort of sales and marketing number of 12 opportunities will give you one in hand, right? So I worked on 12 things all the time. And then just to see what I was interested in. So I was looking at, how do I was volunteering with a couple of different organizations for food scarcity. I was volunteering for some organizations that do clean water around the world. So it's kind of time to give back, right? That type of thing. And then I ran I had my consulting company, so I ran a bunch of projects for people on and off, often in oil and gas. So did all kinds of different things. And then as each one got less interesting, I would close them off and start something new. And basically what happened is this team of people that I'm working with for VPT just kept coalescing and kept coming back together. And that's really where the interest gravitated to and kept going. And we ended up in solar because of the energy side of it. And so what we are developing is a new inverter. And if you're developing a new inverter, then you're automatically in solar. But it's not just solar. Our inverter actually is actually energy supply agnostic. So we're in solar because that's the type of energy, distributed energy, that's available right now. But for us, the same technology for wind, the same technology for actually interfacing with a bidirectional car charger, so accessing the battery on your car. For us, also, geothermal, but also even generators. We can get the energy from a generator and then put that into our grid, because we developed what's called a nanogrid. So if you think about the big utility grid, there's a microgrid that might be the size of a community. And then the nanogrid is what you can run actually in your own house. So the grid fully managed as a grid in your house. That's what we do.
You already answered my next question, so that was that works out even better. So again, I'm talking with Kelly Hall, the founder of VPT. You can click on her website, vpwtech.com. It's right there. You can learn more about it. If you have any questions, plop them in the comment section, and we'll get to them. So you obviously you have your energy background, and you've sat in a bar and you've come up with a new idea. I always love that. I mean, that's always, I just have to throw that in there.
Yeah, it's so typical with us. Actually, our executive meetings that we have every Monday night are with, I have a glass of wine, Ray has a beer, and Phil has a scotch. So that's how we do it, every week. It's as one of our team calls it, alcohol fueled creative thinking. So it makes us sound like real alcoholics. One glass, honest. It's only one glass. It's not a big deal. So.
Well, I know I had a lunch with a gentleman yesterday, and it was from 11:30 to 1, and then he goes, "Yeah, at 1 o'clock our team's getting here," and I was like, "Okay, that sounds good, right?" Here we go. We're sitting at Beckham's in the Northeast, but
there you go. Yeah.
As we digress, so I know there's there's a lot of stuff. I don't want to say solar's been around for a while. I'm sure there's other types of competition out there that may be similar to yours. So what differentiates yours from what's out there right now?
Yeah, see, and this is actually really cool. It's a hard question to answer because the pat answer, which is just so much fun, is there is nothing out there that matches us. There is no competition with us, which everybody goes, no, that's not the case, right? And I understand that, but it is really cool. We're in the space of invention, right? So we have a brand new inverter that's never been done before, in a way that people who understand my background, distributed control, that's what we're doing. But if you look at the larger picture and say, okay, if somebody wants backup energy, for example, because one of the great things that you can do with solar is keep plugging it in every day. And even if the grid's down, then you can get it, or wind, not every day, right? I get that. But it is a way to recharge a battery is really what we look at. And what's really different about our product is that it's really simple to use. All the difficulty is in the product itself. So for somebody who wants to just step into green energy, just give it a try. Buy a power bar, our battery box that's connected with that you literally plug in, and a solar panel and some cable, and plug it in. Give it a try. Now you're running on renewable energy. It's that simple. And that's something that is not really, it's available in the market now. You can do that. There are ruggedized batteries out there that are really meant for camping and that type of thing. And that's great. So you can start with that too and give that a try. But the difference with ours is that it's inside, and you can then plug it into your own electrical system, and you can expand it. So let's say you try that, one battery, one solar panel, and it gives you enough juice to, run your TV in for 4 hours and a bunch of other things. It's actually more than you would think. Anyway, so you do that. And then you say, well, I want to try a little bit more. In our system, you don't have to go out and then build it for your whole house. You can add one more battery. You can add 3 more batteries. You can add a power bar. You can add 10 more solar panels. And all of that is done without needing any permits, or without, having to worry about the roof structure of your house and having to really invest time and a lot of money. Because right now, if you decide you want to try solar, you want to put it on your house, you're looking at $15,000, $30,000, $45,000. Depending on where you live, you can get some subsidies for that. Now you've got to have time to apply. You've got to do a shitload of permits, and now you've got to deal with another company coming and doing all the installation for you.
Yeah.
And what we're basically saying is, let's make it accessible. Let's make it small. Let's do it in pieces and make it as big as you want. So that's quite different than anything else that's available on the market.
So I don't need an installation. I can just put it out on my rooftop, and Bob's your uncle, away we go. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I like, so I guess, when I come to and I think about it, and it's going to sound like it's a good question, but you and I have talked about it in the past.
Okay. That's warning me.
So, I mean, I can see this really being beneficial in disaster areas and things like that, where people, they've lost their power. When that could be in Texas, or that could be in a hurricane in Florida, or an ice storm in Quebec. Like, I mean, it's a worldwide problem with disasters.
It absolutely is. And it's interesting because here in Calgary, in Edmonton, and Alberta in general, we have really inexpensive energy, although depending on what kind of billing system you're on today, you might have got a bad bill. But, we've got really inexpensive energy, and it's extremely reliable. And so generally speaking, we are not our client market. For here, it's people who are interested in it and want to try it. But the huge market for us is just, next door. It's down south. Like for us, our first, our entry market that we're doing the trials and tests in is Texas, where they have extremely weak infrastructure. The United States has, you look at their electrical infrastructure they've had in many, many jurisdictions, like we're talking over half the country, they don't have the incentive to actually maintain their systems. And now their electrical infrastructure is 30 years past their end of life. And so you can imagine that as you keep putting a demand on a system that physically isn't meant to last this long, it's going to fail, and it's failing all over the place. And so people that, up here, we can, once every 10 years or once every 5 years or something, we may have an outage, like you talked about, like the ice storm in Quebec. Absolutely, this would have been helpful. But in the US, there's massive, and we're talking millions of people that live with power failing on a monthly basis. And when it fails on a monthly basis, they're not talking maybe 4 hours. Often it's out for days. And you just don't hear about it in the news. Like, you just don't even hear about it. And then when you think about, okay, well, that's just in the US, then you think of places like India with the infrastructure that is always in demand and growing. You think about places in Southeast Asia. All of a sudden there's lots of opportunity, massive amounts of opportunity, where not only do you want to generate for yourself, the energy, but you can integrate it with the grid. And grid technology is changing. There's a whole new thing that I'd never heard of before until I started getting into this stuff, right? VPP, virtual power plants. And virtual power plants take energy from the distributed system and then put it into the grid in a way that everybody can use it. And so you think about it and say, okay, well, when I have one battery, that's not really going to help very much. But maybe by 2 or 3 years into it, I'm interested in having 3 batteries. Now the charge that was in one of those 3, I can give away to somebody else. And suddenly there's an opportunity to integrate it. So what we're talking about is getting into the market as the market demand increases for having this kind of distributed type of energy. So it's just really cool.
That's interesting.
And in Europe, they're ages ahead of us, obviously, in renewable energy, and this has been going on for quite a while. And so you can look to England, in fact, and places like Germany to say what we could be in 5 years, and then, well, how would we enter that kind of a market? And that's really what we've been looking at. So it's really cool.
That is pretty cool, and I think it's just it's just not talked about here, right?
Yeah.
And everyone says, "Oh, oil and gas never going away," and it's not, like, not for a while,
Yeah.
and we're they're going to coexist, like, for probably a long time, and then maybe, who knows, probably not in my lifetime, one will be gone, and the other one will be having integrated, or it'll be all solar or wind or
Yeah,
or I don't know.
I actually think, well, oil and gas is here to stay. And I
Yeah.
mean, and the reason being, when you look at, why did we get into it to begin with, right? The fundamentals of energy are still there. So the amount
Yeah.
of energy you get out of a small amount of gas is still substantially more than just about anything else we have out there. Well, except for nuclear, but then, so in terms of the balance, right?
Yeah.
So I absolutely don't see it going away, but there's lots of things that are changing and lots of opportunities. Um, I saw an announcement the other day with Ford. Their F-150s, they are going to be, EVs.
Yeah.
Awesome, right? It's huge torque and electric. Like, let's be real. An electric engine in your car has massive torque. Why are we not doing that just for that? But anyway, but the other great thing that they're talking about, which I thought was hilarious, is F-150s will be able to buddy breathe. So you can charge one truck from another truck. So, all of a sudden your charge stations take on a whole new meaning. And that's just it. Our cars are going to become charge stations. They are massive batteries. Access them, use them when the power is expensive, and charge them back up again when it's low. Again, something that we don't really have to deal with here very much, but is a big deal in a lot of other countries. So it's all of that new technology, that huge cloud of new technology that's coming in, that's really going to change things. And when you think about, oil and gas, and then utilities and different things, wouldn't it be great to be able to have your utility run on solar when it's available, wind when it's available, gas when you need it, and by the way, fill up a battery that's based on rust? Like, how benign is that, right? There are these new batteries which are based on iron rusting. And so you charge it one way with rust, and then you clean it and use the energy the other way. It's brilliant, not something you're going to put in your car, or, but it's something that a utility can use. And there's like so many technologies out there that are really, some of them are going to die. A lot of them are going to die on the vine. That's what we hear. But a lot of them we're at the point of pilots on some of these things and beyond. And if you look at what's happening in other countries around the world, what is more their normal, then you can say, hey, that can happen here pretty easily. And all of a sudden you've got a hugely robust system, because you're not relying on one way of getting power, you're relying on 10 ways of getting power. And to me, every time I drive somewhere and you look at those poles, it's $1 million a pole for a utility pole.
Yeah.
But I need power here. And I don't really need power in the 3 miles between my place and the next person. So why would we have poles all that way? If we can get ourselves to the point of being distributed energy, generate the energy where you are, and not worry about that transmission in the in-between. And to me, that's been practically my whole career. Distributed controls. Manage it where you are. Makes total sense. So this is just a step into doing that. We're not saying that it's a solution for the whole thing by any means. What we're saying is there's an abundance of solar, and there's, and honestly in Alberta too, an abundance of wind. Let's use it, and let's make it cheap, and let's make it fun, and let's make it easy. And that's really what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially when it comes to making it cheaper. Right? Everyone's like, "Oh, my bills, right?" No bill ever goes down. So, wouldn't it be nice to say, "Hey, look at this. I'm going to integrate all this, and all of a sudden your bill's going to go down by 25%."
Well, and that's just it. Right now, solar investment doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. Like, let's just put that on the table. If it costs you $30,000, and then you get a credit from the government, and now it's costing you personally $15,000, that's a hell of a lot of savings for a lot of years you have to have on your utility bill just to break even, right? Break even times are 10, 15, 25 years. Break even. So why would you put money into that?
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is basically get it all, right? Get the energy, it's clean energy, and then have it so that you don't need a subsidy in order to invest and do it. So it's not so much the return on the investment from that perspective, but you can start getting into that energy without having to break the bank, without having to actually get a subsidy. And again, here, for the amount of time that we would use it in an outage, probably still not worth it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But when you're in Texas or Florida or any of the southern states where, you generate a lot of solar energy and your grid goes down all the time, the balance between, do I care about that investment versus my lifestyle and safety? Obviously my safety is going to come in, but if I can do that without getting a subsidy, hey, that's huge. I can afford it.
Absolutely.
And so the market for us is just massive. It's how do we get there? So that's the part we're in now.
That's always the hard part. How do we get there? It's never the easy question. It's an easy question to ask.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like for us right now, we've got the technology proven. So, hey, I can sleep now at night. I didn't always sleep in the last year when we'd have a problem. It's like, I don't know if we're going to solve that. But no, we did, right? So the problem, we know it works. And now it's like, shit, how fast can we get it to market? How fast can we build it out? How fast can we get it out? That's what we're doing. And
so
then
I guess that's kind of that exactly leads into my next question is like, what's next? I mean, you're building it out. You're doing a seed, maybe a pre-seed, seed raise type thing. So, expand on that a little bit for us.
Yeah, so we're doing a seed raise right now, and so we have pre-seed. That's what came out of work from a year ago, and was able to fund us to get this stuff proven, and a patent actually applied for. So we're patent pending on one of them, and then the next start is actually building it out and trialing it, doing a proof of concept with all of the pieces and kits. It's not new technology. So it's taking the best of the existing technology and making it all work together. And then, of course, test, right? This is a consumer product. And so we got to make sure that it works, 500% of the time for all the weird things that our customer is going to use this for, right? So how easy is it to actually plug it in incorrectly or whatever? And so that's the type of thing that we're working on next. And at the same time, what's the first market? Where do we get in? How do we get in? What does that distribution look like? And so we're looking for market partners as well. The federal government has a program called SDTC, Sustainable Development Technology Canada. And they actually do a lot of work and will help us test, give us some money towards it. But they actually want you to have a market partner who will basically prove out that, in fact, there is a market for what you're doing. For as much as I think there is, apparently that's not good enough, right? You need to have somebody besides the CEO say there's a market there. Strange. So that's what we're doing now, is actually looking for some of those market partners. And that's, an ongoing, we were talking a little bit, it's a bit of a slog right now. Just, how many people can I meet? Who can help me meet? Who can help me meet? Other people to get to the right connections, to get to those right partners. Bit of a dating game right now. But then after that, and really just, running as hard as we can and getting it out there. It's really exciting. I mean, and that's really the stuff that I'm good at. I'm not very good at fundraising. I'm really not. It's a new thing for me. And it's, I do okay, obviously, because we're still alive, but operations and getting the stuff going and building the team, that's what I do. It's we're at starting blocks, and I'm just waiting for the gun to go off, and we're going to go running.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know if this is the right. I don't think anybody's really good at fundraising. I mean, there are people that are good at it, but then maybe they're not good at it. They let their companies go, and then that's the other problem, right? I mean, it's
exactly
such a balancing act on what do you do? How do I do it? Like, I think it was Tim from Startup TNT put a little a little comic out there the other day, and it had a nice lady in a dress drinking a martini, and a guy in a looked like a bum, and he goes, "Yeah, I spent too much time fundraising." I was like, "Oh, I like that little clip." I was like, "That's pretty funny."
It's true, and I mean, obviously, you got to bring in help where you're not very good. So
absolutely.
So obviously, I am very lucky and privileged to have an awesome board that's come on, and they've helped me with a lot of the stuff. So it's not just me trying to do it. So that's the good part. That's the good part for sure.
Yeah, you need a good team. There's no doubt about that. Again, I'm talking with Kelly Hall, the founder of VPT, and I'm always sad when these discussions come to an end because we've had I love what you're doing. I love the fact that, using solar, it's going to help people in a time of crisis when they think no one's going to be there for them and things along those lines. So I'm happy, to, obviously, be there and do whatever we can to help, as anybody is in our ecosystem. And it's quite the interesting journey. But before I let you go back to that journey, I got to ask you one more. I mean, you've been there, you've seen the ups and downs. We talked fundraising, we talked lots of great things over the last 30 minutes. But if you had one piece of advice for a startup entrepreneur, what would that be?
Yeah, actually, it comes back to what we just talked about. If you don't do it alone. Even if you're a sole entrepreneur or whatever, it's a pretty lonely place, and don't do it alone. People like you, Jade, who are so helpful, and your group, Startup the community that's there. I leaned in. I had certainly had some black times. Like I said, there were times I didn't sleep because I honestly didn't know if we were going to make it work, right? Yeah. And full confidence in the team that it would work, but still, when you're at the point of trying to run the whole thing, it can be pretty scary, and it can be very lonely. Yes. And honestly, so make sure you lean in. Make sure you have help. Talk to people, and then like I just said, there's parts I'm not very good at. I got lots of help. I go out and ask for help all the time, and people want to help you. So there's no reason to not accept it. Go for it. That'd be my one piece of advice, because I think a lot of us who have our own businesses, and I worked in oil and gas for big companies, but I've also always had my own businesses, going on for a long, long time. And you kind of are that, well, I have to do it all myself, or I'm the best one to do it. Or sometimes you can get into that headspace, and it's really, no, go out there, get help, use help. Have other people do things with you. Just don't do it all by yourself. Because when you do it by yourself, you're the box that is, around my window here, right? That's it. And as soon as you reach out, I can reach over to you, Jade, and now I've got double the box. As soon as you reach out for help, ask for help. And even if you don't like the word help, okay, give me a hand. I don't know. Come up with a different way of saying it.
Rephrase it.
Just rephrase it. I need some assistance with this piece, just you're really good at this and I'm not. That's that would be my piece of advice. Because once you start in that network, everything is possible.
Oh, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's something that I talk about all the time, right? That entrepreneurial journey. I think that's one of the biggest things.
Jersey too. Put the shirt on.
I got it. Where's my mind?
I like the one you got now. Work. Yeah, that 4-letter word.
Work nicer. Shout out to Alex Patusi, right?
I didn't see the nicer, just that 4-letter word.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's something that, we hear a lot at Peer Guidance, is like, all of a sudden, I'm this guy or girl walking this journey alone, and all of a sudden I've got access to a team that's been there, that's done that has cried, that has struggled, that have, done all the things that we're doing. And our ecosystem is so collaborative. I mean, it doesn't matter even if it's us and working with Thin Air Labs or working with someone else, it's there passing on deals. Saying, what, I can't help you, but I know 3 or 4 people that can. Let me introduce you to them. So right, yeah. I couldn't agree more with what you said, Kelly. And again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. We love what you're doing. We're always cheering for you. We haven't seen you at Founders Coffee, so hopefully we'll get you.
No,
we'll get you out there soon.
Okay, 7:30 in the morning, not good for me for an outing. That's my problem.
Well, that's what we have 6 p.m. for every Thursday night for that networking event, right?
All right. Well, that's exactly. No, it's how do you do this? How do you run a company? How do you grow a company? How do you do all the things you have to do? How do you still have a family and a love life and a dog? People know my dog now, because usually he's jumped in to the call already. Yep. So we got rid of him. So for the day, not
exactly. Again, I thank you again, Kelly. I really appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time today. Thank you to everybody else. Again, tune in tomorrow at for the Clean Tech Summit. You're going to see amazing companies throughout Western Canada, and of course, the Alberta Technology Symposium, April 20th and 21st in Calgary here at the Grand Theatre. Tickets are available now. Go check out the website. It's in the comment section, and I hope everybody has a great day. And Kelly, yourself too, and hopefully you can get out of the driveway.
No problem.
Okay.